Well, welcome to another bourbon hunt. Today we're heading to the Cartersville area. We're going to try to hit 4 or 5 stores or as many as we can before we run out of money and find some of the bourbons that we have on our Lucky 7 list, and we'll put that on the screen so you see what we're hunting for. Now, we did have a couple that we took off because our Lucky 7 covers not only our motorcycle hunts but our four-wheel drive hunts. So we did have 2 that we found at Total Wine, and we'll show those on the screen. And it's part of our hunt, but it's not part of what we're looking for today. So really there was like 5 bourbons left, and hopefully we'll find a few of them. Like I said, until we run out of money. So that's always like a part of the bourbon hunt you don't see. We only have so many funds every week for bourbon. So anyways, come along with us as we head up to Cartersville in the search of tasty bourbons. Big Time Beverages. That's a nice looking store. I have not been here before. This is a new one for me. We'll see if we can't get you some video on the inside. That's sometimes a little sketchy to do, but we're going to try to at least let you see their selection of bourbons and what we're looking at. Well, we've tried several ways to get video in these stores. We tried using GoPro, we've tried using cell phones, we've tried using other cameras, and the one thing we have to do is be unobtrusive and not making a video production out of it. So we went back to the GoPro with a chest rig, which is not unusual for a motorcycle rider to have when I'm coming in with my gear and I'm wearing a GoPro on my chest. So we're trying this new feature, and you can see that we got back to the bourbon aisle and we're looking at the Knob Creek now. And this store basically has a great selection of bourbons. They had like 4 rows of bourbons, 2 aisles. And we're kind of going through and we're looking at the Woodfords and the Smoke Wagons, and we see the Penelopes, but I didn't see the Penelope Toasted I was looking for. The Heaven's Doors, the Rowans. I'm just kind of going through and looking. The camera is pointed a little too far up, so you may not see everything right in front of me, and I apologize for that. We're still trying to get this right. That's going through there, and there's a Bib and Tucker, and that was a little bit pricier than normal, so, and certainly not on our list. going through, and I've been looking at the Old Elk for a while, and I've been interested in this double wheat version, but then it's not really a bourbon, and it's right at $100, and so interesting, but I don't know that I'm willing to spend $100 for another Old Elk. I'd rather just get the Old Elk wheated bourbon. There's the Blue Notes a little bit out of the picture there. We just did a first pour on the Blue Note Crossroads, and that is an excellent bourbon. There's the Redwood Empire. We're still trying to find some Redwood Empires. We like that so far. Going down through there, and let's see what else we were looking at. I know the Rabbit Hole, that we're going to do something with the Rabbit Hole in the near future. And what else are we seeing here? A lot of stuff on the bottom shelf I'm not very familiar with. The Whistle Pig, not a fan. Sorry guys, just not a fan of what I've tried so far. And I don't drink rye. And there's the Millum and Green, and it's on our list. But as you'll see in a minute, we came across something else we were looking a little harder for, and that was the Chattanooga Whiskey Bottled in Bond. I don't see the Bottled in Bond everywhere. I see the other ones, but the Bottled in Bond has been a little harder to find. So that's the one we're going to pick up today on this run. And I try to keep it down to one bottle per store. I have a limited budget, so I want about as many stores as I can. I know I can always go back to a store on the run and go ahead and get that if I really need to, and if I haven't fulfilled, a number of our Lucky 7 wish list. So just going back through there, and you can see they've got a really great selection. It's the first time I've been in that store, and they opened about 5 months ago, and I'm really going back. It's, Cartersville's not that far from Canton. Now, this is the second aisle, and you can see the more of the standards, the Maker's Mark, the Jim Beams, the Evan Williams, the George Dickel's, probably I wouldn't say lower cost, but maybe more budget-friendly bourbons on this aisle, including some unusual ones. So there's the Elijah Craig's and Angel's Envies. And then I noticed that the Larceny, this is, I think, was the A123. They was kind of jacked up a little bit in price. Normally you can find those from $60 to $70, and they wanted over $100 for that, and I don't quite understand that one. Okay, we've arrived at our second stop, Cartersville Beverage Company. It's more of a local store. It's a little bit off the beaten path. And we hope we can find another one of our Lucky 7 in here. So let's go inside and see what they've got. Unfortunately, their bourbon section's pretty small, but still, it did have some good choices. And in the on the right here, you see most of the fan favorites, the lesser expensive bourbons and the Southern Comforts and Jim Beams and the Maker's Marks. And then on the back wall is where you get into some of the higher priced bourbons and more select stuff. I did notice this, whatever this Doc Holiday was, it was well over $100. I've never seen that one. It's an interesting looking bottle. And, they've got a good variety of pricing here, including, I don't know if you just saw that up at the top, they had some E.H. Taylors, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then this shelf was kind of like a hodgepodge, of overflow of different bottles. I did notice that they had a Larceny B522 from last year, a barrel strength, which is nice. I've not tasted that one. I was interested in getting it, but sticking to the list. And of course, Elijah Craig, and then of course the Old Elk double weeded, seeing that again, and that was again right at $100, so I passed on that. Some Chattanooga, and I think they had a bottled in bond at this one too, which we'd already gotten at the last stop. A lot of the smoky bourbon, flavored bourbon. And you got the, on the bottom shelf, you got some of the Evan Williams and the Rebels going on, and the Bird Dog whiskeys. And this Puncher's Chance, I've got to look into it. The only thing that concerns me is it's a blackened bottle. I can't see the bourbon inside. I like to see the bourbon, what it looks like, the color before I buy it. Of course, the benchmarks, the Four Roses, the Knob Creeks, 13th Colony, and going back in here, and then got a special case of Blue Run and a few other ones that are pricier. What I can't believe is I completely missed the Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit. The Milliman Green, okay, I see that all over the place. But the Kentucky Spirit, I don't see it, and I completely missed it. So we're going to go on to our next stop, and maybe I'll see it at another stop. I may have to come back another day and visit this place and get that Kentucky Spirit. So our third stop is Country Spirits in Cartersville. It's a little harder to find. If you can find the Quick Trip on 41, just head to the right of it and go on back, and it's kind of a small store on the left side of the little shopping center. I had read good things on Google, people commenting on Google, how they like the store. And so it seems to be a favorite amongst the locals. So that's why we wanted to check it out. And sure enough, as soon as we got in the store, I noticed how big their bourbon section is, bourbon and whiskeys. And for a store that small, it was great. And you can see there's the fan favorites, the Jim Beams, the Southern Comforts, the Evan Williams, Chattanooga, Jesse James, Jack Daniels, a lot of stuff. And if you look on the top shelf in a second, you'll see that they had some allocated bourbons, hard to find stuff, Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, Weller Special Reserve. Now, The Buffalo Trace and the Weller, it's a little easier to find, but in a lot of cases, they're still jacked up in places. This was not that bad. I thought they were affordable. There you go. And you can see they had Knob Creeks. They had, of course, the Southern Comfort and the Jim Beam flavored stuff, which I don't care for. But Jack Daniels, and there was that a single barrel select over there. And if we get down to this other aisle, they have more of the unique, what I call unique bourbons, not quite the big fan favorites. The Blue Notes. Apparently Elvis is still in the building. Fistful of Bourbon. Four Roses, Maker Mark, Basil Hayden. More of the top shelf or higher. And there's an E.H. Taylor. That was like $99. I wouldn't pay that for it, but I've seen it for more. And then, of course, there's the case that has the owner's own collection that the clerk says he pretty much doesn't really want to sell. And you can tell that by the prices. So there was a Rip Van Winkle, a Pappy Van Winkle Family Reserve, an E.H. Taylor. I think there was a single barrel in there, and a lot of really nice stuff. In case you haven't noticed, yes, I am lost. I had tried a couple times going down the street to find this place, looking for a sign or something on the road that would tell me this Royal Spirits, I think is what it's called. Where is it? Finally, when I did a U-turn going around the building there, and I'm coming down the street and going like, I don't see a sign. I'm going to start looking at the buildings, what the building says. And then I look at the top of this building. This building's like 2 stories tall. I look at the top of the building, and there it says Royal Spirits. It's no wonder I couldn't find it. So let's go inside and see what this little place has. Well, there again, more of a smaller store. The bourbon is on the back left corner along with the Canadian whiskeys and the scotches and other things. It's kind of like blended from end to end. You got to kind of know what section you're looking at. And there we see prices are clearly posted. Basil Hayden's, High West. We got some Woodfords and Gentlemen. And there's a nice the single barrel cask strength, which I've not seen anywhere, although it is a little more pricey at almost $90. And they had a really nice selection and some unusual to find bourbons. And so we're trying to find, this is was going to be my last stop just based on the time I had left in the day. And so I'm looking for, there was the Millam Green that I almost bought. I did see that and going like, if I don't find anything else, I'm going to get the Millam Green. And I'm pointing to it now. And I've seen it a few dollars cheaper, but not real expensive. I see it anywhere from $52 to $60 depending on the store. So some of their stuff was a little pricey. This Joseph Magnus, I never heard of. It was like $115, $119. I've seen that a couple other places. I know nothing about it. I'm going to have to look into it. But a lot of nice selection bourbons, more of your medium to high end. I thought, well, in the middle of nowhere too. And of course, then there's the Buffalo Trace, Weller, and Eagle Rare, which they are getting a premium for. I would never spend $60 for a Buffalo Trace. I hope you wouldn't. But still, it's nice that they have it. If you can't find it and you can afford it, it's right there on the shelf. You don't have to ask for it. And looking around there, there's some stuff I can't see or you can't see on the top shelf just because I'm so close to it and the camera only shows so much. Now we're into Irish whiskeys and some Canadian whiskeys. Really, I'm looking at the top, and I'm going to back up here, and you can see some of the other items. One thing I did come across, and I think you'll see it in a second here, is I did come across, was on our list, the smooth amber contradiction. I'd read a little bit about it, and I thought, like, man, I want to try this. It sounds interesting. So I grabbed it off the top shelf, and there it is. And I thought it was a reasonable price. I think I paid like 36. So we'll let you know about that. So now let's talk about our bounty. Well, we ended up getting 2 very nice bourbons off of our list. So actually, with the one, we completed 4 off of our Lucky 7 list this time. And we're going to show that on the screen now. And it was the Chattanooga Bottled and Bond and Contradiction, the Smooth Amber Contradiction. So we're happy with that. It'd been nice to have a little bit more on our trip, but our budget was limited. So each week, or should I say each time we do a bourbon hunt, we will put a Lucky 7 list on there. And if we've gotten anything, we'll scratch it off. We'll show you that and what is left we're looking for. So we really appreciate you coming and checking out the channel. We can do probably maybe a couple of the bourbon hunts a month just because of the time it takes to do it and the production it takes to put it together. But we hope you'll come back. We're always trying to improve the bourbon hunt to be more interesting, and it is a mix of motorcycling and bourbons. We're bourbon riders, so that's what it's all about. So please like this video, and please subscribe if you want to see more content, including all the in-studio shows we do, from first pour videos to blind tests to the Friday night bourbon fight, which is very popular on our channel. So we're glad you came and visit us today, and we'll see you next time.